Hi guys, I'm Nate from Good Mayhem Racing. Thank you so much for getting us past the 100 subscriber mark. It's really cool. And I think this is maybe my 103rd or 104th video, so it's kind of cool to have more subscribers than YouTube videos. It's kind of a first for me. I'm kind of excited about that. Today I'm going to talk about lug nuts. With off-roading, getting fancy tires, it's really common to get fancy lug nuts. These ones are called splines. They are a type of lug that has grooves tucked into it, and they take a special socket to get them on and off. It is not, unfortunately, a lock. You can go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or any fill-in-the-blank car store and buy these spline lugs and the tools to remove them. So it's not a secure way to hold your wheel on if you're trying to do this in the mall or around town. It is also a really bad thing to use for off-road racing because you don't have an AutoZone nearby to get your lugs off if you lose your socket. So when I was racing at the Cena de Baja, I had two of these spline sockets, and lo and behold, one of them didn't even fit my lugs. They fit a lug that was really close, but it was not the same. That sucked. Also, since I couldn't see the studs as I was mounting the tire with these things in the way, that's harder to work with as well. So I am swapping them out with good old boring 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter lugs. There's no lock and key on these anymore. I'm getting rid of the splines, and I'm going to be using these 19 millimeter, or more accurately 12 millimeter by 1.5 millimeter threaded 19 millimeter lugs. So then anybody with a 3/4 inch or 19 millimeter head and an impact wrench can take it off. Granted, you might be tempted to use an impact wrench to put it back on. When you're out in the desert, sure. All right, that's a great idea. But when you're in the garage, never, ever use this to tighten up your lugs or a bolt or anything that you find valuable, because it can over torque stuff really bad, make it shatter, make it bend, and that extra torsional load is something that most bolts aren't rated for. So when you look at these types of impact wrenches and they say 650 foot-pounds of nut busting torque, they're talking about taking this thing off, not putting it on. So do yourself a favor and don't. When I was in the desert and we had to do my spare tire, again, that's a great time to use it because you don't have all of the equipment in the world to replace parts. At the pit stop, that spices things up. If you can get away with it, don't use it. For example, Colin with UC Motorsports, before he races Game of the Hammers, right? So when he did his first lap, no, it wasn't his first lap, sorry. It was his qualifying. He talked about this with me a little bit. When he did his qualifying lap, his one of his teammates actually impact wrench torqued all of the bolts on his structure, and they ripped out some really important ones in the suspension, like shock absorbers and stuff. That'd be a great example of when you shouldn't use this. He's also switching to Nordlocks now, so hey, solid win for him, I think. I was kind of curious with these exposed lugs. If I could see like thread sticking out, no, they're not sticking out at all. I thought I might have something. The extra threads that these particular spline lugs have are the exact same as this from a practical standpoint, just because the studs on the wheel side are so short. And I even have extended lugs, or studs. You got those extended Dorman ones? That was a really good idea. That way I'm not as worried about that stuff not having enough. These things are torqued to 83 foot-pounds. Remember that. I used to torque them down to 95 foot-pounds because I thought that was cool. That was a really bad idea. We got an extension, that was a bit short. Oh, hey, I'm using 3/4 inch. I don't need a long extension anymore. I just use a ruddy socket. All right. Star pattern. All right, now we check them all. All right, that's it. So now all of these wheel studs have open wheel lugs, and I'm gonna have spares for off-road racing. So I'm gonna do that to my other 3 tires, and I will see you out in the desert, if not my garage. Like and subscribe for more, if you want to.